We're going to find out all about ebook publishing tonight, and our two guest speakers are Jenny Mosher from MoshPit Publishing, and she'll probably give you a little bit more background about what she does and her various activities in that area. And also we've got J.L. Halen, who is a Blue Mountains author, and she's going to give us the author's side view of ebook publishing and the trials and tribulations involved. So I'm going to kick off now by handing over to Jenny.
Thank you, Steve. Some of you are writers, some of you are readers, some of you are retailers, some of you are designers and programmers. So this talk it won't be everything to everyone, but hopefully everyone will get something out of it, and that hopefully we can, give you all something to go away and think about. Now, I was sort of thinking the other day how to do this, where to start, and I discovered a little thing on the internet about how to write an effective university essay. And they said what you do is you start by telling them what you're going to tell them. Then you tell them what you're going to tell them, and to finish, you wrap it up by telling them what you've just told them. So in that vein, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the end. We're going to start by looking at what a reader sees, because if you can't understand what the end of the process is, then it makes it harder to understand what you're trying to achieve, whether you're a writer, a designer, a programmer, a retailer. So we're going to start by looking at some devices and looking at some ebooks. Now, three things I need to tell you about me before I start. Number one, I am an ebook evangelist, okay? I'd be silly to try and hide it because you'll guess soon enough. But having said that, I still believe in print books. I still believe there's a place for print books. There are certain books that just don't really make a good ebook, and for every book that's ever been printed, I think we need to look after it, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the future. And there are some books that I think it's good to start them off as an ebook, see how the sales go. If they're dismal, well then great, we've saved a tree. And if they take off and people actually want a physical copy, great, then go and get it printed. But save that tree until we know it's going to sell. That's my philosophy. Third thing I need to tell you is I know a fair bit about e-publishing, but I don't know it all. So there might be some people here that I might say something you might think, oh, I know better than that. Feel free to let me know, because this is a brave new world, and for 3 years I've been trying to find out the best way to do things, trying to find software, trying to find markets, trying to purchase things, and it's been a step-by-step process, and what I'm doing in 2012 is totally different to what I was doing in 2009. And in Australia we're very isolated from the rest of the world. You would think with the internet it would bring us all closer together, but there are American businesses, Barnes & Noble. I have a Nook, but I cannot buy direct from the Barnes & Noble store. They only retail to Americans and Canadians. So, and it's the same with software. There are certain softwares that you just can't, certain software, to try and use it in the Australian environment, it's just that bit, it's just so much harder to get access to. So if you know more than I do, feel free to correct me. The other thing is, if you've got a question along the way, put your hand up, yell out, because if you've got a point that needs clarifying at the time and you wait till the end, it might help you understand. You might miss the rest of the speech. It might not make sense. So any questions, feel free to give me a hoy and ask along the way. And someone else might have the same question. You never know. We're all the same. So, Ebooks 101. Anyone want to hazard a guess as to what this is?
It's a book.
It's a book? What sort of book?
It's a paperback?
It's a print book.
It's a print book.
It's a print book. Now, this book has 193,000 words in it. It's A4 size and it has 300 pages. They're A4 pages. So to print 3 of these books takes a ream of paper. Now, this is a book that should be in print. It tells the story of forgotten Australians, people that went through Burnside Children's Homes in Sydney, north of Parramatta. So it's a book that for Australian history really does need to be printed. However, it weighs in at 800 grams. For us to print, pack and post this, it's costing a fortune. So as an ebook, it's a great, it makes a great piece of literature as an ebook. For someone who just wants to read it, to browse through it, doesn't actually want to keep it, that's fantastic. But this is the reason books like this that have so much volume that make great ebooks. Now, if you look at the size of this, You put that on your bookshelf and you multiply that 300 times, you're going to have a pretty heavy bookshelf. In e-reading terms, you put that on an e-reader and you can fit 1,000 books on an e-reading tool. Now, the first e-book I ever read, sorry, I'm not used to working with a microphone and a cord. First e-book I ever read was on my iPhone, and it was great. I downloaded an app from Kobo. Kobo actually, they're a Canadian company that have their own device, but they actually have software, they have apps that you can download to iPad and iPhone. I downloaded the Kobo e-reader and I downloaded an e-book, and it was fantastic. I could resize the text, I could read in the middle of the night without putting a lamp on. It was great. It was a whole new world. The only thing wrong was that I could only get about 30 words to a page. So I spent the whole time turning the page. So that was my introduction to ebooks on the phone. My first device was a Nook, a Barnes & Noble Nook. So the Nook's in full colour. It works like an iPhone. You just slide across. There we go. It does work, see? So I'll pass it around. Now, have a test. Play with it. Who here has an e-reading device? Who uses Raoul? What are you all doing here? So how many iPad users do we have? Quite a few. So you'll find this quite similar to the iPad, just smaller. How many Kindle readers do we have? Yeah? Okay. Any other devices? One. What have you got, sir?
Samsung Galaxy Tab 7 inch.
Oh, okay, right. Oh, yeah. Okay, we probably find this similar. To change your font size, just tap on the screen and it brings up a menu at the bottom. So I'll pass that around and you can all have a look at that. The book that's there is called Boob Tube. And it was actually written by a fellow called Mark Coker. Mark Coker established a company called Smashwords in America a couple of years ago. Has anyone heard of Smashwords? Quite a few have, yep. Boob Tube, he and his wife wrote, but they had a literary agent, but they couldn't get a publisher to actually publish it. And he got so frustrated that they actually worked out a way of formatting it, and they set up Smashwords for other writers to publish independently. And all you need to do is format your script in a Word doc, upload it to Smashwords, they will convert it to you into all the formats that you choose, and they will publish it for you. They then distribute it. They'll distribute it to the Apple Store, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, about eight ebook retailers. And for the first 3 years, they were living off air, and I think it was in the third year Smashwords started to become profitable. And they've hit that J-curve, and they're actually really doing good things now. So if we can pass that one around, we can have a look. Now the problem with the Nook is, while it's colour, it has apps, so you can get apps for it. I can run email on it, I can use the internet on it, so it's like an iPad that you have when you're not having an iPad. Doesn't have a camera, so I can't take that, but I can watch videos, so I can watch YouTube on it and things like that. It's just, I wanted something to read with, and I couldn't justify an iPad at the time, so that was good. That was $250 US. Now, the only issue is, I can't connect to the Barnes & Noble shop. I can buy ebooks from anywhere through my computer. I download them and I transfer them sideways onto that. A couple of weeks ago, I finally relented and bought a Kindle. Initially, when we went to ebook publishing, a lot of the books that were released as ebooks had geographical rights attached to them because they were digital versions of what had been previously print books. And when a book got printed, you know, in the old system, under traditional publishing, the author would give the publisher geographical rights and he'd say, yes, you can print it, you can publish that in Australia. And then he might negotiate different rights to have it published in America or the UK. So the books that first came onto Amazon, they would only release them to Americans. So there was no point in Australians having a Kindle. That has since changed. Now there are still some books, which I would say are legacy ebooks that were originally print books where the authors haven't given permission for overseas distribution. But Australians now can buy a Kindle. If you buy it through Amazon, it comes, when I first turned it on, I bought it in the business name from Mosher's Business Support, that's our holding company. When I turned it on, it said, welcome Mosher's. So they'd actually programmed it over there for me before they shipped it, which I thought was great. With this, I can just log on to the Kindle store, on the Kindle, search their books, and if I see something I like, I can click, yes, I want that, buy it. It takes it off my credit card, and within a minute it's downloaded and I'm reading it. which is just the seamless integration is just fantastic. Now, it's light. The Nook that I'm passing around now weighs 470 grams, I think, without the cover, and it weighs something like 740 grams with the cover. So it's quite heavy. The Kindle, by itself, without the cover, is 150 grams. So it's very, very light. But, as you can see, it's black and white. Now, there's a Kindle Fire coming out. Actually, the Kindle Fire is out. And that's very similar to the Nook. It's colour, it has video, it has all sorts of bells and whistles, but we're Australian, we can't buy it. So, unfortunately, we're stuck with the black and white version for a while until they work out whatever it is that they need to do to allow us to have it over here. The Kindle, the one thing I don't like about the Kindle, after having an iPhone and having the Nook, it's manual. There are buttons on the side here, I'll pass this around, and if you click the bottom button, it takes you forward through the book. I don't know if you can see that from there. And then if you click the top button, it takes you backwards through the book. Now, the buttons are the same left or right, so you can hold it with your left hand, you can hold it with your right hand. And the beauty of it is you can hold it with one hand. The Nook is too heavy to hold with one hand, and to turn the page you've got to put it down and swipe it. So this is easier. There's a menu button down the bottom if you want to have a go. It's the one to the right of the controller. And if you press the button, it'll bring you up a mini menu, and then you can use the controller to go up and down. It's like the ones on the old Nokia phones, with the up and the down and the left and the right, with the enter button in the middle. So have a play with that, and I'll pass that around. Sorry, before I get onto iPads, the difference between Amazon and the rest of the devices, Amazon's books are all formatted in a thing called .mobi. So they're only readable on the Kindle. Or you can, if you've got an iPad or a computer, you can download a Kindle app. So you can buy books from Amazon and read them on your Kindle app. But .mobi, Amazon is the only one to use that .mobi format that we know of. Now other retailers are formatting .mobi, so I can sell Kindle books, I can format in .mobi, and I can sell Kindle compatible books for people to read on their Kindle. But Amazon they only release in .mobi. Now the other format is EPUB. Now what you read generally on your iPads, on your Nooks, on your Samsungs, on your iRiver. Have anyone heard of iRiver? Yeah, a couple. Your Kobos. Those readers use EPUB. And the EPUB and the Mobi, does everyone know what a PDF is? It's that document that you can't change. People email it to you and you can't type in it. Now a PDF is fixed format. When you blow it up, when you magnify, when you want the print to be bigger, the edges of the page fall off the side of the screen. EPUB and Mobi are what's called reflowable text, and that's what makes an ebook, and that's what makes an ebook good, It's that ability to change the size of the font, and the text reflows throughout, so that you're not losing it off the side of the page. Where you had maybe 200 words on a page, all of a sudden you've got 170, or maybe you've made the font smaller, you've got 250. But it means that you can adjust that font to suit your eyes. Now the Kindle is black and white, and it's what's called e-ink technology. You can read it in the daylight, so you can take it outside. It has no glare screen. It doesn't have backlighting. It's very gentle on your eyes. The only issue is at night time you need a book light, because it doesn't glow. The Nook, on the other hand, and devices like the iPad and the Galaxy, they're all backlit. Now I can read at night on my Nook. I just turn the brightness back a bit so it's not too harsh. Don't have to have a lamp on, and that's fantastic. But you can't take it to the beach, because it's in the daylight, it's much harder to read. So when you're thinking about buying a device, there's all those things to consider. When are you going to use it, and where are you going to use it? Now, the thing that the thing that made the big difference was the iPad. The Kindle helped, because it was creating, it allowed people to create these books in this .mobi, this reflowable text, but it was one shop and one device. And then Apple brought out the iPad, and then they threw it open with the Apple iStore, that you could buy your books from the iStore, and that led to a whole lot of other devices and other people being able to publish books. And other retailers. With those devices available, they've opened up a whole new world for people to write and publish to. And you've got a choice now. You can self-publish, you can vanity publish, you can still go to a traditional publisher and get a traditional publishing deal if you want to go on bended knee and if you can find someone willing to take you on. And then you can also do what we call facilitated publishing. Now, our publishing arm is MoshPit Publishing. What we do basically is we help people to self-publish. There's a lot of books out there. This year I was a judge on the 2012 Global eBook Awards. They're being held in Santa Monica in, what's today, the 12 more days. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. It's only the second year that they've run it, but it was fascinating actually being a judge to see the different quality of ebooks coming out. One of the books I read, I won't mention the name, actually I can't remember the name, I've blocked it out. It was 27 pages when it was created as a document. The first 9 pages were reviews. Wonderful book, this is a great book, you've done really well, blah, blah, blah. So it had 18 pages of text. Now I don't know who the person was, she was a motivational speaker, I think.
Didn't have much to say then.
No.
She was a marketer.
So, a marketing, yeah. And the 18 pages, I read them and it was how, I can't remember what it was some sort of, get up and this is how you do this and this is how you achieve. She was selling that book for $14.95 and I was horrified. I just thought that was disgusting. It insults your readers, Now there's a whole, Paul here and I have had a little bit of a debate about ebook pricing, and there is a whole issue around ebook pricing. What is a fair price and what's an unfair price? Certainly $14.95 for 27 pages is unfair. It's just basically silly. There are books out there with 100,000 words and more for 99 cents. There are also books out there with similar amounts for $9.99. Personally, I don't think you should need to pay more than $10 for an ebook. Once it's created, it's out there. Now, for people like, as you see as the Kindle's gone around, you might see that I'm reading Richard Branson's latest book. And I think I had to pay $12 for that. I don't know. I'd like to know how much the publisher gets. Under traditional publishing, when you have a print book, the author gets 10% of the recommended retail price. So that $12 book, he would have got $1.20 for it. I wonder what authors are getting through traditional publishers for their ebooks. Because once that ebook's created, you need a bit of hosting space, a bit of download, not a lot else. Yes.
25%.
25% to the authors. Right.
Is that for a new? That's for a new book.
For any book.
So you've got to remember though that with the traditional publisher, they put out the paperback version first. That's right. So they're not only producing an ebook for that author, they produced a traditional book.
That's all right. I did that the other day.
And then they produced an ebook for the ebook market.
Yeah.
All the marketing's already done then before the ebook gets to print.
Yeah.
So
they've done the
so
marketing.
essentially the ebook purchaser is subsidising the paperback. Is that therefore what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, purely from an ebook consumer's point of view, that's how I feel.
But I take your point about...
From an author's perspective,
Yeah.
I want the marketing and everything else, and I want to be able to sell my paperbacks as well, and the ebooks just to piggyback on top of
Okay, well I have a different perspective, which you...
So ebook is a piggyback on top of the print book.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm just responding to your point about how much an author gets for an ebook.
Yes.
From a traditional publisher. That's all I'm responding to. And I'm saying, of course it's only, and we all own it 20% or 25%, but it's because there's been paperback with all the marketing first.
Right.
That's why it's relatively low.
Okay.
Not defending traditional publishers, but that's fine.
No, that's a good answer.
Actually, it was interesting that you said a real book, because I actually called myself doing that the other day. I was talking about a book and I said, a real book. And I horrified myself because I don't look down on ebooks. There are still a lot of people that do. There's still a lot of people who are releasing ebooks, they're self-publishing, but they still want to be taken on by a traditional publisher. They still want to be seen in print. To me, that's not important. When you have ebooks that are selling, 100,000, 200,000, 500,000 copies all around the world, why would you want to be bothered being in print? You've made it, from my point of view. Look, obviously that it's meaningful.
I think it's dangerous to set up this, and I'll say it without saying I'm a publisher,
Yeah.
to set up this conflict between a ebook and an ebook, and between what is published through a regular publishing house and what is published through e-publishing on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And having heard the Smashwords guy at length, I think what he does very much is to say publishers are evil and this is the way to go. In fact, what you get with a publisher is far more than what you get with any ebook publisher. You get attention to every single word on the page, you get design, you get a lot with a publisher that you don't get as well necessarily at the moment with
Self-publish.
and I really don't like this division, this kind of them and us. I think it's really wrong. I think we should accept that there are two forms of publishing, that publishing hasn't yet caught up with what's going on technically, and that's a fact, but that they're working very hard and investing a great deal of money in it, and that any publisher has already invested a lot of money in putting a book out there. It's not cheap.
No,
And
it's
the
not.
25% you get, you're actually making more from your ebook than you're making from your ebook. That's a fact.
I wasn't.
That's true.
No,
No.
sure you weren't.
That was me wondering if publishers are only still awarding 10% of an ebook RRP to their authors.
That hasn't been the case from the start.
Hasn't been? No. That's actually very illustrative of the flux that's in the industry at the moment,
Absolutely.
because the changes in the last couple of years have been phenomenal. What we were doing for e-publishing 5 years ago was a software that was an all-in-one reader that you would program your book, and then you would distribute it in this all-in-one reader. The purchaser had to register a password to get access to it, and it was totally locked up. And now it's almost swung the other way. People are releasing ebooks without them being locked at all. There's software, there's facilities, there's abilities. And in 3 years, what's happened in publishing is it probably took 10 years to happen in the music industry. I mean, the 80s was all about CDs, and then the 90s, towards the end of the 90s, we were getting into download and things like that. So I think there's probably another 5 years, probably till the wash up, and there's some settlement, I would say, until...
Unless every publisher becomes bankrupt in the meantime.
Well, that's that too, and that would be a shame. That would be a shame. Because they do service a role. But one thing about self-publishing, if you're considering doing it, and this is where you need to do yourself a favour. Number one, get a decent cover. As the publisher here said, covers a decent cover is worth a lot. The other thing is, have it looked at inside, get it edited, okay? Some of the books I read as part of the judging process, one in particular, it wasn't even high school English. I'm sorry, it was atrocious, and that brings down the industry. I think in time, the rubbish will sink to the bottom, and the stuff with value, yes, it will pour. In time, and the stuff of value will rise to the top. But over the next, probably at least 5 years, I'd say, there'll be a lot of settlement as new things, new software comes out. We're waiting for EPUB 3 to find out what that can do. But then we need devices that can run EPUB 3. That's the other thing. Yes?
I've been under the impression that Amazon.com books were done in HTML format, and to me this .mobi format that you've mentioned in the EPUB is totally new to me tonight, and I'm about to do a course in HTML. I'm thinking, am I up to date now?
HTML is, if you convert into EPUB or Mobi, you can start with an HTML document and then run it through a software that will convert it to EPUB or .mobi. So we use a software called Juto, which works for us. It's a small company. I think they're in Scotland somewhere, and the software's very inexpensive, $33 I think I paid for it. JUTOH, and it will convert to EPUB and .mobi and several other formats. And you start with a Word document, so you can set out your document in Word, save it as an HTML, and then run it through Juto and produce your different versions. And that's one comment I needed to make. If you're looking to make an ebook, as far as formatting goes, less is more. Okay. At the moment, they're not pretty. There are fixed layout ebooks. There are ebooks with illustrations, diagrams, images. But for the most part, if you're looking at a text-based document, headings, text, keep it simple. Yeah.
Do you need HTML?
You don't need a separate HTML program. I mean, I don't use a separate HTML program.
You just start in Word.
I start in Word, I save it as an HTML,
I'll save it
I
as
save it as HTML in Word, and then I run it through Juto. And then I just tell it what files types I want, whether I want a Mobi or an EPUB, or I think they do open text document, open Office produces as well. So I think that's just about it for me. I've been given the wind up. I'll be hanging around afterwards if anyone's got individual questions, and I'll be happy to talk to you.